I think this is the perfect bow to put on this entire conversation on the live show today that started with talking about the Big 12 TV schedule and rivalry week and how, yes, in an ideal world, I very much wish, and we all wish, that it could be like it was 20 years ago and rivalry week was rivalry week and we played all the rivalry games because teams were in the correct conferences and all of that. But unfortunately, that is not our reality anymore. But this is what Josh shared. So the perfect college football conferences. You see there, we've got current Big 12 teams spread out across the Big East, the Big Eight, and the group of Pac-10 and independents. So 4 different groupings here. And there will be different reactions from different folks to this, but I think for the Big 12 schools, it's going to be all good except for one. I think BYU fans are not going to be real thrilled with that, but everybody else will generally be pretty happy with this. As an old school, like Big 8 guy, man, born in 1989, I experienced the Big 8 at least until I was 6. My very, very first K-State football memories are Big 8 football. I love getting the Big 8 almost entirely back. One thing there, you'll notice. Look at who's in the Big 8 instead of Oklahoma. He puts Oklahoma in the Southwest Conference. Boy, I didn't even mention the Southwest Conference, did I? In terms of where Big 12 teams are at. So you got Big 12 teams here on this list in the Big East, Southwest, the Big 8, the Pac-10, and independents. My fault. Southwest Conference, didn't mean to forget you there. But Pate said that he wanted to include Texas and Oklahoma together. I would say, to hell with that. They played every single year without being in the same conference when it was Big 8, Southwest before that. They can do that. That's fine. But I get it. Utah fancies itself like Mountain Oklahoma. So in some ways that actually works. Like Mountain Oklahoma, Utah, you can be Mountain Oklahoma. All right. You guys think that you're that type of program every single year, totally consistent, even though, the last 2 years would indicate it's anything but that. And you were very, very humbled by your first year in the Big 12. Consider yourselves Mountain Oklahoma. The funny part about this is I just mentioned, hey, in this scenario, the Big 12 scatters into 5 different leagues. 5 different leagues. You've got 4 options there, 4 chances to get out. And Utah is one of the 2 schools not able to do so. One of the 2 newcomers, right? Of the 8 newcomers the last 2 years to the Big 12, only 2 of them stayed in the league. It was Colorado and Utah. Utah had a 75% chance to get out of the truck stop conference that they are so much better than, with the worst road trips and having to deal with Loves and Bucky's and Quick Trip and all of this. They were so close to getting out from that conference of inbreeds that they are so much better than, and yet they didn't. So maybe anybody who would have a complaint about Oklahoma not making the Big 8 in this scenario and instead being in the Southwest Conference can laugh at the fact that Utah gets stuck here. This massive restructure, reorganization of college football that Pate said he would put together if he is commissioner. This would be step 1. All that, and Utah gets stuck. It's very funny. It's very, very funny. Enjoy that, Utah fans. Enjoy that. Oklahoma was in the Big 8 for 103 years, though, so I do feel like we should have, we should have done that. We should have just kicked Oklahoma into the conference, and then you get some good non-conference TV inventory with Texas, Oklahoma, Red River Shootout every single year, whatever. West Virginia fans got to be pretty pumped with this, right? I get it, man. Travel. This is one of those complaints that you'll hear from a fan base, and we honestly don't give it enough run. I don't think, just in terms of like how annoying it has to be and just how legitimately detrimental it can be to your chances to win. It's all the travel that West Virginia has to do based on where they're at geographically in the conference. That is difficult. It wears on you, and it will make your job at least a little bit harder, marginally harder at West Virginia because of that. Well, now forget that. You get travel that makes sense, and you get to play some old rivals. Obviously, Pitt, chief among them, but, Virginia Tech, Syracuse, like schools like that you will get to play make a ton more sense for West Virginia. I would feel good for the Mountaineers about that. It's UCF sneaks in there. It's less travel. for UCF too. I think that's my inclination there to say from Orlando, but I don't from the East Coast. I don't know. I think I'm right in saying that, right? UCF. That wouldn't be the worst thing in the world for UCF to be in the Big East. They still get to be in like a quote unquote power conference in this scenario. So, okay. We've got that. Now, here's who you feel for. Arizona State going back to the Pac-10. Great. Love it. Get the conference back together. I'm sure they're fine with that. BYU, though, you feel bad for here, man. The poor Cougars, they just won 11 games in a conference. They are universally liked, it seems like, in this conference. They have been very popular. Certainly seem like more people, especially once Utah came on board and started acting the way a lot of their fans were online. And look, BYU, they're just salt to the earth people, every single one that I've come in contact with. So you get the conference camaraderie. You finally get in a league. It's tough. It's tough being out there on your own as an independent. Now you got to go back to it based on this. Utah or BYU rather they're the only school obviously in the Big 12 with the enough juice to be an independent, like actually legitimately function well as an independent, because it's hard. You've got to have the resources. A national fan base like that certainly helps. BYU can do it, but it's not the most fun. It's not as fun as the camaraderie of a conference, especially when things have been going pretty well here. So I am sorry. With the way that this worked out, Cougars. I am sorry. Oh, Michael, who is a Cougar fan, does not like it. It says, love JP, but some dumb crap. Speaking of clickbait, I don't know that this is like clickbait as much as it just is fun off-season fodder. Like, hey, we're out of the season. And he does always campaign about wanting to be college football commissioner. That has been kind of a topic. And the sport is clearly so foobarred right now with the way that conference realignment has happened and so much toothpaste that you can't put back in the tube about all these conferences. I just thought this was really fun. Yes, obviously it's going to generate engagement, but I think it's more just creating some fun content that, yes, will happen to create a lot of engagement. I don't think this is him purposely trying to bait a lot of that. So I'm with it. This type of setup, like if you got this with the college football tomorrow, I forget which, or was it the Project Rudy, whichever one of the private equity Super League scenarios had the leagues laid out very similarly like this. Like that's, this is the way that I would like it to go. I don't know. Can we make this happen in 2030, everybody? And when TV deals start coming up, I would love that. I would love for that to happen. Unfortunately, this is the toothpaste that's all splattered out of the tube. This is what it would look like if it were back inside said tube. But unfortunately, it is not. It is not. So yeah, I'm sorry, Michael, when I said, hey, let's go bring this mood, this vibe back up to something people will like more. I had not considered the fact that you're a BYU fan, and that would be the one area where, I think people would be very frustrated with this. Like, so I have a hard time seeing Houston, Baylor, or Texas Tech being upset about being back in the Southwest Conference. I think that would be very cool to watch all of those teams play each other every single year. So I think pretty much everybody else winds up being happy there. I'm certainly happy. I'm certainly happy as a Big 8 fan to have Nebraska, Missouri, still get to keep Colorado, like have those teams back in the conference that I haven't seen. I see Michael saying, well, why include Rice? Well, Rice was a member of the Southwest Conference. I mean, I guess that's basically it. Rice was a member of the Southwest Conference when it was a thing. So they got a bit of a new lease on life there. David says the Big 8 sucks in this setup. At least move BYU into the Big 9 to get the Holy War in the Big 8. One of the tenets that I know he laid out here was that he wanted the conferences to all be correct. Like no more Big 10, but there's 18 teams. He wanted them to be numerically correct. But I think we could maybe have some negotiating room on that. Get BYU back into the Big 8. I would still call it the Big 8, even if it's going to have 9 teams. I'm cool with that. I've gotten used to it enough right now. You can call it the All-State 8. Whatever you want to do with it. Hopefully not in this scenario. I guess you're not doing the All-State 8. But I can understand that. David. I don't know that the Big Eight sucks. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, I guess, relatively speaking, let's go through here. Because look, the SEC is the SEC. The Big Ten, you got Ohio State and Michigan is what it is. The Big East, the Big East is tough. The Big East and the Big Eight are probably the two with the least amount of firepower. Pac-10, you still got Oregon, ACC. You got those brands we just talked about with Florida State, Clemson, Miami, Southwest, obviously Texas, Oklahoma. I would take the Big Eight over the Big East if you did like a Big Eight, Big East challenge. But you're right. It would be one of the weakest two in this scenario, which is a part of why, you might want Oklahoma there and BYU, honestly. If you could throw both of those in, that would help a little bit. But yeah, not totally perfect, but I think about as perfect as you could get here. And who knows? Maybe Nebraska gets a little bit better playing in a more back in the conference that they used to play in, not what the Big Ten has become, which is this coast to coast monstrosity. I don't know. We'll see. Let me know what you think in the comments. What's missing there? What would you change? Agree, disagree. It's all good.